Hi everyone, it's Gretchen. We're just getting ready to make some St. Patrick's Day cards. Hi Cheryl and Lindsay. I guess the rain wasn't bad enough to keep you at home, Cheryl. I backed my car out of the garage this morning and been letting it sit outside all day, hopefully getting washed off a little bit in the rain. Hi Brian and Deb. Good to have you back. Glad you enjoyed the Easter cards. The Valentine's Day cards. So you wanted to come back for this one. I've been working on all sorts of holiday cards, so I'm all confused as to what the date is and what holiday is approaching. These cards should be pretty easy. They shouldn't take us too long to put them together, so hopefully you'll have all the correct pieces in your envelopes. Nope. Forgot to turn on my secondary lights. Brighten things up a little bit. I'm just waiting a few minutes to make sure everybody gets on. You should have received the instructions for the cards in the reminder email I sent. So if you have any questions, let me know. Oh, and Brian, just to let you know, I did receive your check today. Thank you. Linda as well, but I don't see her yet. Hi, Kathy. Are the dogs joining you in class today? Oh, I was asking if the dogs were joining you in class today. Are they going to help you out? All right. Yep, Mom is still here. She's behind me. she is going to stay through the weekend because we have a sewing event over the weekend, and then she'll head back home. Kathy says hi.
Oh, hi.
All right, well, I'm going to get going. Let's see, we'll start with the lucky card first. Put these aside. Now, a lot of you got mailed your kits, so your cards are scored. But if your cards are not scored, then you'll have a long strip that's let me just confirm, 4 by 11. Now, a lot of times, especially if we're using letter size cardstock, it's 8.5 by 11. So when you cut it in half, it's 4.25 by 11, or 5.5 by 8.5, which both of which folded would be 4.25 by 5.5. However, I am using 12-inch cardstock, and to be less wasteful on the cardstock, it is if you use the 4 by 11, or sometimes I'll even make them longer, make them 4 by 6. You actually get 3 cards out of the piece of cardstock instead of 2 and a little remnant. So I often do that because honestly, most people don't notice the difference between a 4-inch card and a 4.25-inch card, unless your image is really big and you need the extra space. So this card is this sheet is 11 inches wide, so we're going to score it in half at 5.5 inches. And actually, I'm just going to do all 3 at once while I have my scoreboard out. They're all exactly the same. They're all the same color. It's called Evergreen. I am scoring on the darker side. You'll see there's all our cardstock, Close to My Heart cardstock, is double-sided. So you've got the original color and you've got a lighter shade. I want the darker color on the outside. So that's why I am putting it face up in my scoreboard. Yep, dark side. Dark side up. And then I'm going to just go ahead and fold on the score line. And the proper way to fold is towards the bump. So this is the side I scored on. Turn it upside down. This is the bumpy side. And I'm going to fold that way. And just use my bone folder to give me a nice crisp fold. But if you do not have a bone folder, you can just use your finger. Many, many years did I just use my finger. Okay, so those are ready to go. I'm going to put 2 of them aside. And just get the one we need for this card. Now my envelopes are slightly bigger. Yours are the correct size for your card. I just have these bigger ones that don't have adhesive on them, so that's what I use to put my supplies in. So you're going to have your background paper. And I have an extra sometimes if I cut an extra piece, I stick it in my envelope there. You're going to have a bouquet of shamrocks. You're going to have this little Happy St. Patrick's Day stamped piece on white. Another little strip of the same as the background paper. Your lucky horseshoe and your lucky banner. Now the lucky, and I left these letters in here on purpose because, as you can see, for some reason, every single one I cut out, the C and K fell out, and the other 3 letters stayed attached. It's probably just the way the Cricut cuts. These are all cut on a Cricut. I hopefully put the letters, all of the letters, in your envelope so that if you wanted to make another card or you wanted to put that on the inside of one of the cards, you'd have all the letters for lucky. But we're not actually going to use them. We're going to punch out those letters and just use the banner. And when I punch those out, I push them towards the back. And this is just my scoring tool that I scored my cardstock with. You can use an awl. You can use just your fingers to pull them back. Just, anything you've got that's got a little bit of a point if you need help pushing them back. Your horseshoe also has holes in them. Now, if you look at all this glitter, you can't really see too well. But if you turn it over, you should be able to see them better, especially if you kind of flex the cardstock a bit. But again, I always kind of pull them towards the back of my piece because sometimes you'll see right there that this is coated paper, so it's a little different. But sometimes a little bit of the cardstock catches from where the blade hit it, and sometimes it'll rip. And it doesn't matter if it rips on the back because you're just going to glue this down to your card. But you don't want it to rip out on the front because you want it to look good. So that's why I always kind of tear them towards the back. Or, even if I'm working on the front, I poke through to the back and I tear it from behind. And sometimes the way you like it, you may like the back better than the front. And in that case, pull it towards the front. But obviously for something like the Lucky, that's not going to work because your letters would be backwards. But you're just going to, let me see, 6, there's 7. I wonder if that's on purpose. 7 lucky holes in your horseshoe. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to attach our background paper. And some of you might recognize this paper from the Winter Wonderland shaker cards we did. Whenever it is we did those. But I thought this side of the paper was still appropriate for these St. Patrick's Day cards. So that just goes flat on the cardstock, centered on the front of the card. You'll have a 1/8 inch border all the way around. Okay, so this part might be a little bit tricky. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my horseshoe down where I like it. And then I'm going to stick my shamrock bouquet kind of through it. So you're going to be on top of the horseshoe over here at the top, but just the bottom of it is going to slide underneath. And I just want to take note of where that slides because I don't want to put adhesive on the horseshoe in that spot. So in this case, I have it centered right between those two holes. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put adhesive on my horseshoe, but I'm not going to put adhesive in that spot because then I can just slide it in. So I'm not going to put it in between those two holes. I'm going to use this scrap paper, which I've been using all day. I'm going to use this glue pen. It's a two-way glue. It if you put it on and let it dry, it becomes repositionable. Sorry about that. That word didn't want to come out. If you put it on and stick it right away, then it's a permanent bond. You can use a liquid glue on this. You can use your double-sided adhesive. You can just put little spots. I'm just going to show you this glue pen. And I'm just remembering, if you need a little help remembering, I'm going to put that X right there between those two holes to remind myself, don't put adhesive there. Oh, and see, look, I did. So the advantage with liquid adhesive, you could wipe it away, and actually even like if you use your tape runner or whatever, you can usually roll it right off. But I'm just so used to covering everything. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and put that down again. And yeah, and I should be able to, you might need a little, like you probably don't have one of those, but like the blade of your X-Acto knife or just something to pry it up a little bit just to stick it in there, but it doesn't have to go in yet. Just want to make sure it would still slide in there. If you're worried about it sliding in, you don't have to push it down quite all the way yet. Okay, now on all these little shamrocks, I am going to put some foam tape. So I'm going to turn it over, and you can use either side you prefer. I'm using the dark side. And I am going to, this is my giant roll of foam tape, and I am going to cut a whole bunch of little pieces to put on my shamrocks. So I'm just putting a piece on the center of the shamrocks. It's not going to take a lot of adhesive to hold these guys down, but I've got a couple of skinnier pieces to put on the little leaves. And you may find that you need to cut them a little bit smaller when you're putting them down. So I'm just making sure I get a piece on each flower, each leaf bloom. Okay. And then I'm going to take the backing off. Okay, so now that the adhesive is exposed on all the pieces, I'm going to take my glue pen again and just put a little adhesive. And again, you can use liquid adhesive, you can use a glue stick, whatever you prefer. So I'm just putting it on the end here of my stems, I guess. And this is where I want to slide it into my unglued spot. It might be easier if you kind of curve the card, although it's a lot to maneuver. No, I guess it's not easier to do that. I think I managed to stick mine down. Oh, there it is. Okay. Huh. Sorry about that, guys. Okay. Remember when I attached the glue when I wasn't supposed to? Yeah. Okay, so just easily slide that in. Hopefully you guys had an easier time than I did. And stick your bouquet down. And since I kind of yanked that up, I'm just going to put a little glue where I yanked. And then we're just going to put our lucky banner on. And again, we're going to use foam tape on this. And you don't obviously want the tape to show through all the letters, so we're going to cut small pieces and put it around the border. This is why I like the roll of the foam tape, because you can cut pieces in any size you want. Yeah, why not? Stick one more right here. It's probably overkill, but that's okay. The only thing with that glue pen is you do tend to get some adhesive on your fingers, so you got to be careful about that when you're then moving on to other pieces. Okay. And I've got the right edge of the banner lined up with the right edge of the decorative paper. Just pressing down on my adhesive, make sure it sticks really well. All right, so now we're going to put our gems on. And your gems are already colored. But let me show you what I did here. See, these gems come in silver. Now, they do come in other colors, but sometimes, like, I didn't have the gold ones at home. And you'll see in the Easter cards, I'm going to do a bunch of different colors. The silver ones are great, and these work on clear ones, the clear sparkles we sell too. And I imagine they would work on any pale color that you could cover up with a deeper color. But you can color these gems to be any color you want. But you need an alcohol-based marker. Now, an alcohol-based marker would be like the ones we sell in our catalog, Copic markers, Spectrum Noir, and there's a lot of different alcohol-based markers out there. You cannot use a water-based marker like a Tombow or a Marby or a Crayola or your basic kind of markers. It's got to be the alcohol ink. Now, a Sharpie is an alcohol ink, so a Sharpie will work. And I colored these for you because I wasn't sure, who had, what kind of Sharpie markers you had. I have a variety of colors. So I am just taking my marker, and it's still on the plastic backing, and I'm just coloring right over it. Now, I did notice that the color will get deeper with multiple coats. So if this color isn't quite dark enough for you, you can just go over it again.
I think I put all the things in the same.
Oh, yeah. When I pack the kits, all the gems were together in one of the envelopes. So I don't remember which envelope it went in. So if you opened up this card envelope and your gems were in it, it's probably in the envelope with the shaker card that has your envelope of shaker bits. So look in this envelope and you'll find all your gems for all your cards. I didn't want to separate them, and only put 3 in each card because I figured that there's more of a chance of them getting lost. So when you use these gems, those of you who have used them in the past know this, but sometimes they tend to not stick really great to the adhesive. That they are self-adhesive, but sometimes the adhesive sticks more to the plastic background paper than it does to the gem. So what I always do is I pick it up and I rub the back of the gem, and that kind of transfers the adhesive to the gem instead of the backing paper. The other thing I like to do, and this is totally optional, but I like to put a dot of liquid adhesive on the spot where I'm attaching my gem. The gem has adhesive, it is supposed to stick, and they do stick pretty well, but sometimes when you're mailing them or they've sat around for a while and they rub against other cards, sometimes they'll pop off. So just as extra security, I like to add a dot. So you can see on my sample here, these are the 3 gems. I've got 1 large, 1 small, and a second small above the banner. So I'm just going to put 3 dots of glue, and all you need is a little dot. I'll show you in a minute because you probably can't see it from down here. So see, I just put a little dot of glue. And I like to, you can pick it up with your fingers. Left it over here. But I like to pick the gem up with my X-Acto knife and put it on the paper. And now sometimes that gets glue on your blade. You just wipe it off. And sometimes the glue will come around the sides, but it dries clear, so you generally can't see it. You can also wipe it up a little bit with your blade. Be careful if you use your X-Acto blade. And there you go. And then you have gems that perfectly match your glittery horseshoe. Okay, now on the inside of the card, and now Close to My Heart did not have a St. Patrick's Day stamp. I happen to have one. I have had it for many, many years. It's a PSX brand, which was the brand that you used to find in Michaels and AC Moore and MJ Designs back in the day. And there was another store in Henrietta. I forget what it was called. But anyway, so this is a brand you often find in the craft stores. If you really wanted one, you could probably find one somewhere. One thing I like to do is, I do this a lot on Christmas cards. Sometimes I'll print out a greeting on a computer and put it on the inside of my card if I don't have what I want to say. Or you, of course, can handwrite it. But so I used my St. Patrick's Day stamp for you guys, and I am just, this is cut to the width of the card, which is 5.5 inches. Because it's so long, I'm just going to put them on the two short ends too. And I'm going to center it on the inside, the right inside of the card. Now I'm going to put it down right next to that score line, the bumpy part of the score line. I'm going to start there and put it, smooth it down to the right there. Now, my piece is slightly longer than my card, so I'm just going to take my scissors and trim it. And that's just because we have this, the score line here that takes up some space. And then I have this strip of decorative paper, and mine is definitely skinnier than my adhesive is going to be, my 1/4 inch adhesive. So I'm putting on some 1/8 inch tape. You can put your adhesive on it too, or you can put your glue pen or your glue stick or your liquid glue on there as well, whatever you prefer. And I'm just going to put this about 1/2 inch away from the right edge of the card vertically, which still gives you plenty of room to sign your name. So we've got the front of the card and the inside of the card. All right, I'm going to leave this here and I'll move on to the next one. And let's do this one next. And we're going to need another one of our cards. And the first thing we're going to do is going to put down the background paper. And this was a Christmas paper from last year, believe it or not. I had originally bought it for the green plaid because I thought that would look nice on these cards, but I think this floral is pretty too. So you, of course, can use whichever side you prefer. And again, just center it on your card, 1/8 inch border all the way around. And then we're going to put this red strip on. And I stamped that Sending Many Wishes Your Way, which is from, okay, that does not want to focus. One of my generic sentiment sets. If you didn't like it, you could always, well, mine is stamped on both sides because one was neater than the other, but yours should be blank on the other side. So you could always turn it over if you don't like it. And this is the width of the card, not the width of the background paper. So it's going to go from edge to edge on the green cardstock. And we've got a gold circle that was simply a circle punch punched out of this gold cardstock. And I'm going to put this on the right side of the red strip. It's going to be slightly above center. If the red line is your center line, it's going to be slightly above center. So you have about 1/4 of an inch between the bottom of the circle and the bottom of the pattern paper. And then we're going to put our sparkly shamrock, and this was also cut out from the a Cricut cartridge. So I since I didn't have any St. Patrick's Day stamps, I did a lot of cutting from my Cricut cartridges for these. So if you needed to cut out some shapes, always happy to let other people use it as well. So I'm just putting, again, I'm just going to put, this is a bigger piece, or bigger shamrock. So I'm putting a piece of foam tape on each of the 4 petals. Just checking. Sometimes I would put it on the stem, but that stem is really skinny. So I did not put any foam tape under the stem. If you wanted to cut a really skinny piece, you're welcome to, but I think it's going to be okay without it. And then I'm just centering that shamrock on the circle. The stem will poke out from the edge just a little bit. As you can see, I originally cut one out of just regular cardstock, but I liked the sparkly one better. And then I'm going to put some more gems on here, and I got a color. Color another small one. This card has 2 large gems and 1 small one. And again, I'm just gonna, should have done this before I colored it, but because I just transferred the color to my finger, but I'm gonna rub the back of the gem, or the back of the plastic sheet right underneath the gem. The ink dries pretty quick, but I touched it right away, so. And then I'm gonna put my dot of glue on the card where I want my gems. So I've got one right here. Whoops, that was a little more than I needed. Those you could probably see a little better since it's on the color, the darker color. And I think I rubbed these, but just to make sure. And we got a little glue outside the edges because I put a bigger dot of glue there, but it'll dry. And my little one. Whoops, those were the 2 big ones. And my little one is trying to escape. Which goes up here. All right. So since I put a circle on the outside, I decided to put a circle on the inside. So I punched this out of the pattern paper. I keep looking for my gun where it's supposed to be instead of where I actually put it. Just putting small pieces around in the circle so I get close to the edge. And I'm going to put it up in the upper right corner, about 1/8 of an inch away from the top edge and the right edge. And then I'm going to put my Happy St. Patrick's Day, which is a little shorter than the previous one. And this is stamped in the evergreen ink to match the cardstock. We're going to put this centered left to right and just slightly above center top to bottom. Because then we've got our strip of pattern paper, which again, mine is skinny and I did not cut it quite straight. Hopefully yours are straight. Usually if there's a problem with something I stamped or something I cut, I always give myself the imperfect one, shall we say. And I believe this was the case on this one. It looks like I only had one little scrap of paper left, and I didn't want to cut into a brand new piece of paper for one little strip. So it was like, oh, well, it's close enough for me. Okay, and I'm just going to put that right next to the bump of the score line and directly underneath the white cardstock of the greeting. So they're butted up against each other. And just like that other piece on the previous card, mine is overhanging the edge of the card a little. So I'm just going to trim that so the edges match up. And that is the second card. I'm going to go ahead and color my other gems to just give you a minute to catch up if you need it. I colored yours, but I deliberately didn't color mine because I wanted to be able to show you the process. Yeah, it's very technical here, taking a marker and coloring gems, but I'll color them now so they can dry while we're putting together the rest of the card. Everybody good? Just pausing for another minute, making sure everybody is all caught up. Okay, so we've got one more card. And this is our shaker card. And I know some of you have made this style shaker card before, but it'll be new to others. So make sure you have all 4 of your little hearts to make your shamrock. Okay, Kathy, I assume you're talking about the cardstock, and there are 24 pieces in the pack. And it's actually a good time to order cardstock because March 1st starts the cardstock sale. So I think the regular price is $16.95 for the 24 sheets. And the sale price is either $12.95 or $14.95. Let me check for you. Well, right between. That's why I couldn't remember. It's actually $13.95. So, so I will go ahead and I'll wait till March 1st and I'll put that order in right away for you then, if that's okay, Kathy. So you can get the sale price. You can also get, if you didn't want 24 sheets, there are also combo packs. So if you prefer that, let me know. All right, let me push this up a little bit, but so you can still see them. All right, so we're going to make our little shaker card with our little, he's supposed to be a gnome, but I think he's a leprechaun. Yes, it will only, it will be all the same color unless you want a variety of greens. All right, so this is our vellum. And Deb and Brian, I did score yours for you because I know you don't have a scoreboard yet. But everybody else, we're going to score this together. So I stamped the So Lucky on the vellum. And we're going to turn that upside down. And this is kind of the exception to the rule in folding, but I'll show you why in a minute. So we're going to score at 1/2 inch on each side. So now vellum, you want to be careful. Well, all paper you want to be careful, but especially vellum, you might want to rip it. So, or you don't want to rip it. You might rip it if you press too hard. So what you want to do is actually press not too hard the first time and then go over it 2 or 3 times to give yourself a nice crease. I'm actually going to go 4th time and press a little harder. Okay, and so now we're going to turn it, and it doesn't matter which way you turn it because we're going to score 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. So turn it to the next side and score it 1/2 inch. And then turn it to the next side. Whoops. It's a thinner paper, so it might want to buckle a little bit if you press too hard. So you can just, hold it as awkwardly as possible to keep it in position. And then I'm on my 4th side here. And because we're scoring it at 1/2 inch on each side, this piece of vellum is 1 inch bigger in each direction than the piece of paper that's going to go below it. So you should see, and on the vellum, it makes those nice white lines, which, by the way, is another totally different technique. And it just gave me an idea. I should do a class incorporating that. Okay, so what you want to do now is, see, I told you before you fold towards the bump. But in this case, we're going to actually fold away from the bump because, this scoring the vellum has started a nice crease for us. And we're going to take advantage of that. So this time and this time only, we're going to fold towards the dented side. And I'm folding the 2 long sides first. And it makes a nice crease just with your fingers. And then I'm going to lift it up a little bit so I can fold on the short sides. And I'm going to show you how to take care of these corners in a minute. So now you have a nice creased piece of vellum. Okay. And what you're going to do is you're going to test. Now this piece is 4x5, is approximately 4x5.5, which is the size of our card, as we discussed before. But it's actually just a hair smaller than those measurements. Not even 1/8 of an inch, more like 1/16 of an inch. And what you want to do is put it into your vellum, and you want to make sure that it fits within those score lines. And if it doesn't, you want to trim your paper because you want it to lie flat. And you can see, maybe you can see that I'm moving it and it's bouncing back and forth on the score lines. That's just, I mean, you can't even, if I hold it still, you can't even see, but it is just slightly smaller. And that's what you want because you want it to lie flat. Okay, so you can do this a couple of different ways. I am going to use double-sided adhesive tape that has a backing. If you do not have one of these, if you just have a tape runner, you can do that too. And you're going to put it oops. So you're going to put your adhesive, this is 1/4 inch wide. I'm putting it like right near the score line. It's right not on top of the score line, but it's closer to the score line than it is to the cut edge. And I'm going to do that around all 4 sides. Now, if you just have a tape runner, just run your tape runner along. Here, I'll show you. I'll do one side with my tape runner. So you can just run your tape runner. Try not to drive off course. And you can just go ahead and put that on. I know you can barely see that in the picture, but maybe you can catch the glare. So whatever you have, either way it'll work. And then the next step is to cut the corners. So you're going to cut, let me see how I can show you this. You've got your intersection of your score lines. And I'm doing this after I put the tape on because I want to make sure that tape goes to the edges. So you want to cut, pretend this white edge is where your scissors are going to cut. You want to cut on a 45-degree angle right there, diagonally across that corner, right at that intersection of the 2 score lines. So you're going to cut off the corner and essentially cut off a triangle. Right at that intersection. And you're going to do that at all 4 corners. And see, because I put my tape down, the tape reaches all the way to that cut edge. So that's why I put the tape down first, even though it seems like, oh, maybe it's a little awkward. So there you go. So now you have 4 cut corners. Now, you're going to put your shakies in, your shaker elements. If you have exposed adhesive like this side, I suggest you put your paper, you either be very careful or you put your paper in first and seal up 3 sides. And I'm going to seal up my one side to show you. So you're going to center your paper inside the score lines of the vellum, fold your vellum side, your vellum flap onto the back of your paper. And if you have exposed adhesive, go ahead and do that on 3 sides. You could do any of the 3 sides and just leave one of them exposed. And you can do that even if you don't have, if you want to go ahead and take this off now and only leave one side open, you can do that. Or if your adhesive is covered up, what you can do is, I'll show you both ways here and then I'll pause so you can catch up. So I'm going to pour some, you can just pour your whole bag. I didn't give myself a bag. I got this at Michael's, by the way, and I thought it looked like little pieces of gold. So that was why I bought this one. So once you pour your sequins, glitter, whatever you want to call it, in, make sure the pieces are towards the middle of your vellum. And then you can pull your adhesive backing strips off, fold your vellum up, and if you don't have a bone, you could use your bone folder. Basically, you just want a really good stick here. You can actually see when you rub the difference in the adhesive. You can see when there's a good stick. It'll get darker. And then if you had already sealed up your, I'm going to take this off so I can be like you. If you already sealed up your 3 sides because you had exposed adhesive and you have this one flap open, you just want to open it really wide. You want to try to avoid that adhesive. And you'll pour in your shaker elements that way. And then you can close this up, close it to the back. I don't know if you can see the difference. Can you see, like, you see that frosty vellum on this, but here where I really rubbed down on the adhesive, you could see the difference, that it's really stuck. And once you rub it down, I'll just do my fingers. You can really see that, oh yeah, now it's stuck. And so now you should have a sealed envelope with your gold pieces in it. See, I just made a mess. Just trying to clean up and I made a mess. I guess I'll clean that up later. Well, no. I said I was going to pause so you can catch up. So this was an excuse to make me pause. So if that wasn't clear, just let me know. I have another kit, so I could do it again if you want me to. Just let me know. I do have a couple of extra kits, by the way. So if you wanted to make a couple more cards, just use the, and buy another kit instead of buying your own supplies, I'm happy to sell them for you. It won't be as much as the class, because of course the first kit includes instructional time and whatnot. Okay. I don't want to lose any of my gold. It's like the beans I use in my pillows. You think you've cleaned them all up, you close it up, and then you see another one. You're probably not going to get all your pieces out of your plastic bag. That's just kind of, see, there's more. They're just everywhere. They, it sticks to everything. Once you start using glitter, it's everywhere. This is the Michael's Recollections brand. And that's all it says, so. It actually does say something else, but the writing is so pale I can't possibly read it. Okay, I haven't heard from anybody, so I'm going to assume everybody's okay. So let's assemble these pieces, and then we'll color our little leprechaun last. Now your piece should be the same size as the front of your card, so you can test that. And I'm just going to use my adhesive, and I'm going to put a couple of lines down the middle because I just want it to make it stick good. And I'm going to start at the fold edge of the front of the card. So I'm going to put the top where, it says "So Lucky" near the folds. And then I'm going to come down. And the reason I'm going to do that, luckily, is my piece is exactly the right size, so I don't have to. But if the card was a little longer, I could always trim if I needed to. Okay, and then we've got a strip of, this is the Evergreen glitter paper. It is paper. It is not the shimmer trim. It does not have adhesive on it. So don't drive yourself crazy trying to get the backing paper off, because there is no backing paper. So you're going to put that towards the bottom of your card, about an inch from the bottom. And you're just going to put it across left to right. And mine is just a little bit long, so I'm going to trim it. And then I'm going to put one of the floral strips above it. And you can use your skinny double-sided tape. I'm going to put my tape runner, and I'm just running my fingers down the side to push back any adhesive that snuck past the edges. And I'm going to put this about 1/4 of an inch above the strip of glitter paper. And again, it's a little long. I cut my big pieces of paper and my little pieces of paper on 2 different cutters, paper cutters, a bigger one and a smaller one. And no measuring device, paper, ruler, paper cutter, ruler, mat, is the measurements are not always equal. So that's why sometimes you'll get pieces that are not exactly the same size, even though they're all supposed to be 4 inches wide. 4 inches on one paper cutter is not 4 inches on the other paper cutter. And then sometimes I also use my my ruler and craft knife if it's a really small piece, and that's a different measurement also. So if you've ever wondered why Gretchen can't cut accurate measurements, it's not entirely my fault. Okay, so when I made my sample, I used liquid glue on my little heart pieces. And I put it down, and then I shifted it a little bit. And so I got this little bit of white residue, because although this glue dries clear on most papers, apparently it doesn't dry clear on vellum, because vellum is kind of a weird entity on its own. So I am not going to use that that liquid glue on these pieces. And actually, what I decided after I made the sample was that I wanted to put foam tape underneath them, which you are welcome to do, or you can do it flat. And if you trust your gluing skills, go for it. Or if I was going to glue them flat, I would probably use a glue pen, or I would just put a little bit of my double-sided adhesive on it. But the foam tape kind of solves that problem for me. So so what I did was put the first piece. So here's the So Lucky. I'm putting my white piece of paper right under that So Lucky, so hopefully you can see it. And then so I put my heart. I kind of want the two petals, the So Lucky, to be between the two petals. And so it kind of, that looks like the stem of the shamrock. That was my thinking anyway. So you've got your flower, and that's the stem. Where's my other? See, that was just how I figured out how to do it. So you can see it better on this one. So that's where I positioned my first one. My second heart, I positioned it directly across with those two. I just really want 1/8 of an inch between the 2 points. Oops. So just right across from each other. And now you can position the other two in between those. So you've got one on this side. And one on this side. And so here's your trick for today. If you have a heart stamp or a punch or a die cut, or you are good at cutting out hearts, or anything else heart-shaped, you can make your own 4-leaf clover / shamrock out of your 4 hearts. Or if you don't want the person to be as lucky, you can use 3, I suppose. And you can make your own shamrock without having a shamrock stamp or die cut. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and do the inside of the card, and then we'll color our little leprechaun. So this is the same paper we used on the inside. All of the Close to My Heart paper comes with a zip strip, and one side of it identifies the Close to My Heart brand, and down here it says the name of the paper and the colors that's used for. And normally you could cut those out and use them as a design element, but sometimes you want to leave it attached, and you have this funky design paper. So that's what I did here. And I'm going to put this on the left side of the card. And just like the other piece, he says, I'm going to put it right next to that bump of the score line and right along the edge of the card, left edge. And just like all the other pieces, Mine is a little bit long because you're making room for that score line. So I'm going to trim it. And look, now I got glitter on my tape runner. Oh well, maybe it's lucky. So this is the same Happy St. Patrick's Day stamp, and I'm going to put this the right edge along the right edge of the card, but centered top to bottom. That wasn't quite centered. That's centered. All right. So there you go. And so now all we have to do is color our little leprechaun. And I used colored pencils as usual. And I used a deeper green pencil. This one is, I used my Prismacolor pencils. This is called dark green. And I also used a dark brown. And it is called dark brown. And a black and a flesh tone, which is called flesh, which is probably incredibly politically incorrect these days. So I'm just grabbing my scrap paper again and folding it up into a couple layers. I like to have a couple of layers of paper underneath what I'm coloring to use as cushioning. It just sometimes if you're on a tabletop like this, my cutting surface has a lot of lines in it, and those lines are that texture is actually going to come up through the pencil. It's like using a texture plate if you've ever used those. So I just like to have a little padding underneath. So I'm going to go ahead and I always start with the small areas, work my way up. So I'm coloring his nose and his ears. And if you want to use a different colored skin tone pencil, that's great too. Okay, so and his hands there. And then I used, I didn't need the black. Sorry, the belt buckle was already black. I'm going to make his belt this dark brown. His belt and his boots. I tried a gold. I have a pencil that's like a metallic gold, but it's not really metallic. I didn't like the look of it. And I didn't know if everybody else would have that kind of color anyway. So I stuck with the basics. Should have found a piece of paper that didn't have writing on it. There we go. I save all my scrap paper, or all my extraneous paper to use as scrap paper. So you never know what you're going to see. All right. And then I just used this dark green to color his whole suit. I just did a little shading on it. So I color lightly at first till I decide what shade, what color I really want. If I want a darker color, then I can always go in a second time or make my color a little heavier. But I like to start out light first because it's easier to add more than to take it away. I've been wanting to do a class with these gnomes for a while, and I just hadn't gotten to it. I hadn't found the perfect cards to do yet. So this set of the gnomes, I'll show you in a few minutes. There's a couple of different gnomes in it and some flowers and a really cute hedgehog. Which honestly I was tempted to put on this card, but it's like, well, I don't know if a hedgehog is really lucky, but maybe to some people. But so if you like these gnomes, and gnomes are really popular, so there's not even just this set. There are other gnomes. There's like barbecuing gnomes, and there's party gnomes, and there were Christmas gnomes. So if you like gnomes and you want another class with either these or other gnomes, let me know. I'll be happy to do one. I didn't know how much people like them. All right, so now I'm going to do his cuffs. I'm going to press really hard to do his cuffs, so to make them a darker green. You could always look on the website too to see. You could. I'm sure you can. I haven't done it myself, but you can type in gnome in the search box, and I'm sure all of the gnome stamps will come up. Okay, so that's the basic coloring. But now I'm going to go in and I'm going to do some shading. So I'm going to just put in a little deeper color on his legs underneath his jacket, coat, shirt, whatever it is, because if the light was coming from above, there would be a shadow there. And a little shadow under his belt. Penguins. Are there penguin gnomes? No, I don't think there's any penguin gnomes. And I haven't seen the gnomes hanging out with penguins yet, which is a shame. I think they, have a great party. And now I'm shading underneath his beard. And then there's these lines drawn on the hat here because, the hat's a little wrinkly. I'm gesturing on my head as if you could see me, but, it's a little wrinkly on his head as it comes over his eyes here. So I'm just adding a little extra green around those lines to highlight those wrinkles and shadows. And that should do it. Some pretty simple coloring on this guy. It's pretty cute. And let me show you here. So this is the gnome set that I have. So that was this guy, obviously. There's that little hedgehog. There's this guy with the flowers. That guy I've also used on a Christmas card because he kind of looks like an elf too. But so let me know if you like gnomes. They're so popular these days. I'm sure you guys have seen them everywhere too. All right, so we just have to attach him to the card. And again, I put foam tape on him. I'm putting a little skinny piece right here at the top of his hat. And we're just going to put him on the right side of the card over the strips. And there we go. That's it. So those are your 3 cards. Let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully you found that pretty easy but fun. Just cleaning up some stuff here. I've got a couple new samples to show you guys. Oh, I forgot the gems. How could I forget the gems? He needs some bling on the front of the card as well as on the inside of the card. So, whoops. Wow, that way too much glue right there. Luckily, the liquid glue you can just pick up with your finger. Oh, it's probably going to make a shoot. Just realized it might make a spot like that. So be careful when you make your little dot. And you're going to put a large one down here in the lowest spot. And a small one a little further up. And another small one above the strips. And that's it. I really hope you enjoyed those. So I've got a card coming, a class on March 15th. I get with some cute little owl cards. I turn them into birthday cards, but you can use them for other occasions as well. So this is called a tower card. And this is, I'll show you the top of it. I'm going to slide this over here. So it stands up. So if you're looking from the side, it looks like this, and it's got these flaps. It stands up. You may have seen these before. They've been popular. I've been playing with this one for a while, and I just hadn't gotten around to it. But it folds flat so that you can see it's the same size as a regular card. So it goes into a regular envelope. And they are much easier to put together than they look. So you've kind of got 4 sides here. So you've got our little owl, happy birthday, and there's room here to write another message or sign your name. A little more room here if you need it. Got the other owl, and just highlighting that beautiful paper. So this will be one of the cards in that class, and this will be the other one, which is a circular card, same owls, and you open up the flaps. It says, enjoy your special day. So I decided to only do 2 in this class because they'll take probably a little longer to put together than the normal. But then again, I may, at the last minute decide to throw another one in. Who knows? So this is going to be on March 15th. Tuesdays are working out well, so I'm going to stick with those unless anybody has any objections. So these are the owl cards, and I will be sending an email about them soon. I just finished them before class so I could show you. So, and then I've got Easter cards on March 29th. And so these are the Easter cards. And we've got an Easter egg and the butterflies. This is more of a happy spring card. And you can see here we're going to color gems again. And then we've got our little Easter bunny. And these backgrounds, the behind the egg and the backgrounds of these cards are made with Distress Oxide inks. If you did the fall triptych or cards, I'm just grabbing it here to show you. If you did this project, I used the Distress Oxides to make this paper, and I did it for you in this case, and then I just demoed how to do it in the class. This time you're going to make your own background paper to make these very colorful rainbow kind of backgrounds. And it looks like there's a bunch of colors, but we're actually going to do them with 3 different colors. And these are the Distress Oxide inks. And these are the blender tools we use. So, to participate, to make these backgrounds, you'll have to buy the inks and the blender, which is $34 for this set. If you have any of these colors or the blenders, let me know and I will adjust the price because you don't need to buy them again. And then the kit for all the rest of the pieces is $20. So I sent an email about that. Hopefully you got it. That explains it all. But if you have any questions, let me know. And again, that is on March 29th. And then in April 19th, I want to say. I can't believe we're talking about April. That's crazy. Yes, April 19th, I will finally be doing the happy birthday cards. I do not have those samples yet because the supplies are not in yet. I did send a picture of the supplies from the catalog in that email. So as soon as those supplies come in, I will make the samples and show you the cards and give you the price. I'm not sure yet because I don't know what supplies I'll end up definitely using. And so that will be on April 19th. So again, I send out the one email, I'll send out another one because now I have the owl card. So if you're interested in any of those, just let me know. Kathy's asking what color the Distress Oxides are. The blue is Mermaid Lagoon. The pink is Picked Raspberry. And the yellow is Mustard Seed. Now, if you had similar colors, they would probably work as well. So if you want to stick with what you have, that's fine. They might, look just slightly different. You just need to let me know what you need. You can try other inks, like the regular Close to My Heart inks you can do the same technique. The result isn't going to be exactly the same. You're not going to get quite the vibrancy, and you won't get it looks like I used a green, right? And it looks like I used a purple, but I didn't. It's just the crossing over the inks. Not all inks are going to do that, but you're welcome to try the technique with whatever inks you have if you want to do that. And then if you decide you like the oxides, you could always get them later. I'm not going to insist you buy them if you want to try what you have. There's also the regular distress inks, but again, the oxides are a pigment ink, so they sit on top of the paper and they blend with it smoothly. So that's the reason for using those. And I love the technique so much. I wanted to share it with you, and I wanted you to try it. And I specifically tried to only use the 3 colors because I didn't want it to be really expensive for you before you tried it. But I think, like me, the minute I tried it, I went out and then bought a ton of other colors because I liked it so much. But all right. If there are any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, thanks so much for coming. Oh, if you think of it, I always forget to say this, but if you could give me a thumbs up on the video, that would be great. I do make these videos public simply so people can find me if they choose to find me. And maybe we'd get some more viewers. So have a great week. Hopefully we won't get too much snow in the next storm now that the previous snow has melted. And you could always contact me after class if you have any other questions. But what a collection. All right. I am going to sign off. So I will see you later. Thanks so much for coming. Good night.